Boutique Douluo+Free complete book won the first prize of the year's Best Douluotong Humanities. Qin Wushuang crossed the Douluo Continent and changed the fate of the collapse of the martial Soul Hall with his own strength. On the eve of the Battle of Jialingwen, Qin Wushuang, who had failed to poison 1,000 streams, became a prisoner. In an instant, all the sins he had committed before were completely exposed. As the personal disciple of Pope Bibidon, he acted recklessly and poisoned the thousands of worshippers, causing the Battle of Jialing Pass to almost collapse. Simultaneously killing 8 Soul Douluo bishops in the martial Soul Hall, 36 Soul Saints, nearly 100 martial Soul Hall Soul Emperors, the Tiando Empire slaughtered hundreds of people on its 10-mile-long street, leaking the identity of Qian Renxue almost put him in prison, kill Tang San, Dai Mubai, Ma Hongjun, and Master Yu Shaojiang. Immortal sinners. The demon of the world. White-eyed wolf. Animal. Countless insults added to it. Until this day, Qian Renxue sentenced him to death, his memory exposed, and the world tried him together. Countless people burst into tears, 1,000 feet of snow shed tears. Bibidong was deeply moved in his heart, the whole world exclaimed, Qin is unparalleled, the glory of the empire. Keywords of the novel. Qian Renxue sentenced me to death, exposure of memory before death without pop-ups. Qian Renxue sentenced me to death, exposure of memory before death, complete download of TXT. Qian Renxue sentenced me to death, exposure of memory before death, latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Unforgivable, requesting the execution of national thief Qin Wushuang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Unforgivable, requesting the execution of national thief Qin Wushuang. Please look back, kill the traitor Qin Wushuang and offer 1,000 lives as a sacrifice. Kill the traitor Qin Wushuang, and the 8 Soul Douluo lords cannot die in vain. Kill the traitor Qin Wushuang and treat the 30.6 Soul Saints fairly. Kill the traitor Qin Wushuang and use his head to pay homage to countless deceased people. Kill the traitor Qin Wushuang and give the martial Soul Empire a clear and sunny day. On this day, after a narrow victory in the Battle of Jialingwen, the martial Soul Empire declared the unification of the mainland, completely defeating the joint forces of the Tiando and Xinglua empires. However, on this day that should have been celebrated, countless people spontaneously took to the streets. Their faces burned with anger and immense hatred. National thief Qin Wushuang. This name has made countless people in the martial Soul Empire grit their teeth, wishing they could eat its flesh and drink its blood. Qin Wushuang was born in a small country affiliated with the Tiando Empire. After awakening his martial soul, he joined the martial Soul Hall and was highly appreciated by the Pope Bibidong at that time. Due to his high talent, he is known as the golden generation of the martial Soul Hall along with Hulaina, Xiaoyu, and Yen. However, Qin Wushuang is really an inexperienced white-eyed wolf, disregarding the cultivation of him by the martial Soul Hall. He has secretly killed and poisoned the genius disciples of the martial Soul Hall countless times. The common people are often subjected to killings, massacres, and bullying of men and women, committing all kinds of crimes. Someone has seen him kill hundreds of people on the long street just because of an unripe watermelon during his mission in Tiando City. The people killed are all ordinary people who have no means to bind themselves. At the time of the Three Kingdoms War, Qin Wushuang is even more reckless, poisoning 8 powerful Soul Douluo-level warriors of the martial Soul Empire, more than 30 powerful Soul Saints, and assassinating countless Soul Emperor-level warriors. After the attempted poisoning of the 1,000 paths of the Great Sacrifice, he contacted Emperor Haotian Tang Chen for a sinister surprise attack. Although Douluo Qian was seriously injured and successfully escaped, he also died after 3 months without treatment. It is also because this time, the national thief Qin Wushuang was captured with conclusive evidence. Because of him, the martial Soul Empire was almost destroyed. Because of him, the martial Soul Empire has killed tens of thousands of soldiers in battle. Heinous crimes. Unforgivable. Kill him, kill him. My father was responsible for transporting supplies in the army. In order to cut off our army's food supply, the traitor Qin Wushuang launched night raids and killed the supply team. In the end, the entire army was destroyed, and the supplies were burned down. A young man's eyes were red, filled with hatred and anger, roaring loudly. Kill the traitor Qin Wushuang! Kill the traitor Qin Wushuang! Countless people responded. There are also flying soul masters pulling up banners in the void, demanding that the Pope slay the traitors under his crown. Brother, you have a good journey. Today, I will wield my sword against Qin Wushuang and avenge you with my own hands. On the mountain behind the martial soul hall, Hulayina threw paper money all over the sky and turned to leave. On the eve of the Battle of Jialingwen, Xiaoyu and Qin Wushuang fell while on a mission outside. Although Qin Wushuang firmly believes that Evil Moon was attacked and killed by experts from the Heavenly Dou Empire, Hulayina now only believes that her brother must have been killed by Qin Wushuang. The thought of Hulayina's beloved and proud junior brother killing her only brother with her own hands caused immense pain. I deeply regret not being able to see through his true face earlier. The revenge of killing my brother is irreconcilable. The current princess of the martial soul empire, Qian Renxue, hates him even more. Upon learning that her lover had planned to kill her beloved grandfather, she almost collapsed. Make a solemn oath, I will kill Qin Wushuang in this life. Subduing demons, I won't let you die for nothing. Chen Xian's old dog has died, then I will let Qin Wushuang bury you. The gate of the temple of worship suddenly opened, and Qianjun Douluo, who had not recovered from his serious injuries, slowly walked out. His face was cold and solemn, with a murderous intent in his eyes. His younger brother, the demon-subduing Douluo, was killed by the sword Douluo while helping the great offering Qiandao Lu escape. On the papal temple, the thunderous petition at the foot of Wuhun Mountain was clear and audible, but Pope Bibidong's face remained calm and expressionless. She, who was already deeply scheming, now holds the power of the world and is even more sacred and majestic, unattainable. Many beloved ministers. Have you heard the petition at the foot of Wuhun Mountain? Chrysanthemum Douluo stepped out with a step, his gaze filled with bone-chilling hatred. The traitor Qin Wushuang committed heinous crimes, and everyone was punished. There are already 100 strong warriors from the martial soul hall who have died in his hands. The number of soldiers in the martial soul hall who died because of him exceeded 10,000. Not killing him is not enough to appease the people's anger. Not killing him is not enough to calm down the army. Not killing him is not enough to strengthen the foundation of the country. Every word is precious, chilling to the bone. Ghost Douluo, who had been with him for decades and was as close as siblings, narrowly escaped death in the Star Dou forest. After only seeing Qin Wushuang once, he died in the secret room of the martial soul hall for no reason. He dares to be certain, at that time, Qin Wushuang had already reached the level of the title Douluo, and it was entirely possible to kill the seriously injured ghost Douluo. A bone-wrenching hatred. And you guys? Bibidong nodded and his gaze fell on the other two people in the hall. Cigar Douluo, Ghost Leopard Douluo. Two people looked at each other, speaking in the same voice, kill the traitor Qin Wushuang. Kill. Bibidong nodded and a hint of complexity flashed through her eyes. Undetectable. Suddenly, several people walked into the papal palace again. They are Golden Crocodile Douluo and Thousand June Douluo, respectively. 2 offerings, 6 offerings. Ju Douluo and others quickly respectfully greeted. Golden Crocodile Douluo nodded slightly, then his gaze slowly fell on Bibidong at the head of the hall, bowing slightly and saying, Your Majesty. If there is anything to offer, please speak. Bibidong's gaze is satisfied. After Qiandao Lu died in battle with a group of worshippers, the temple was extremely weak and had to submit to her feet. The current martial soul empire may not be as powerful as before, but it is unprecedentedly united, with all its power controlled by her. Golden Crocodile Douluo's gaze circled around. I have a method that can make Qin Wushuang feel worse than death. It can better help everyone present to clarify their doubts. Zhu Douluo and others were stunned. Don't you wonder why Qin Wushuang disregarded the Pope's teachings and insisted on betraying the martial Soul Empire? Don't you want to know how Qin Wushuang attacked and killed the ghost Douluo? Don't you want to know how Qin Wushuang assassinated the 8 Soul Douluo? Don't you want to know how Qin Wushuang killed Evil Moon? Everyone remained silent, except for Zhu Douluo, whose eyes instantly turned red. I dream of it. What do you have in mind for the second offering? Speak up. Golden Crocodile Douluo smiled slightly. Gather the power of the 5-titled Douluo and make his memories public, to be judged by the people of the world. This will also establish a strong and upright image of our martial Soul Empire in the hearts of the people all over the world. And this process is extremely painful, making him feel like life is better than death. At the age of 16, a cute new author, seeking a gentle spray. Fear of pain. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. At the foot of Wuhun Mountain, the world jointly judges Qin Wushuang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. At the foot of Wuhun Mountain, the world jointly judges Qin Wushuang. Soon, the 5-titled Douluo will join forces to strip away the memory of the national thief Qin Wushuang, and the news of being jointly reviewed by the world will spread throughout the continent through special means of the martial Soul Empire. The memories of the national thief Qin Wushuang being stripped away will also be synchronously dropped over each city within the jurisdiction of the martial Soul Empire through special channels. Let everyone in the world review it together. Let all the people of the world share the punishment. Anyway, while countless people applaud and cheer, countless people still quickly rushed to the martial Soul City through special channels, hoping to witness the final fate of the traitor Qin Wushuang with their own eyes. Good news, good news. A ragged figure rushed at lightning speed into a hidden valley in the starry forest. His muddy face was filled with the pleasure of seeking revenge. Qin Wushuang, that thief, is finally dying. Boss Dai, mistress, chubby guy, Xiaowu, your revenge is finally coming. In the valley, a beautiful and dirty figure quickly flashed out. It is truly Ning Rongrong. There is also an elderly man with one arm following behind her. Surprisingly, it was the sword Douluo Qinshin who should have died. Originally, after the defeat of the Imperial Alliance at Jialingwan, they were in a state of collapse and scattered in all directions. Ning Rongrong and Oscar have intentions to kill enemies, but they are powerless to turn the tide. In the end, the two of them teamed up to use the martial soul fusion technique Revival Light to revive the sword warrior Luo Qinshin, who should have died. And the two of them, under the protection of sword Douluo Qinshin, broke through the encirclement and hid here all along. Xiao Ao, what are you talking about? Ning Rongrong asked in confusion. I said that Qin Wushuang, the notorious thief, committed many evil deeds and even buried 2 empires with his own hands. Now he is finally going to die. The world will review together. The world will review together. It's really satisfying, Oscar laughed incredibly happily, laughing foolishly. Tears flowed in my eyes. Ning Rongrong's delicate body couldn't help but tremble. Really? Unbelievable, they actually have a day to avenge themselves. Grandpa Jian, did you hear me? Qin Wushuang, that thief is finally going to die. Dad and the others' revenge can finally be avenged. Ning Rongrong turned around and threw himself into the arms of the one-armed old man, crying loudly. After crying, Ning Rongrong gritted his teeth and said, Grandpa Jian, let's go to the city. I must watch that beast die from countless cuts and cuts. On the other side, there is a remote courtyard in the martial Soul City. The cat-eared girl, who also received the news, slowly walked out of the room with a complex expression. Qin Wushuang, what kind of person are you? It is truly Zhu Zhuqin. After Qin Wushuang killed Dai Mubai, she lost the capital to compete with her sister Zhu Zhuyun, and was completely abandoned by the family. It was Qin Wushuang who accidentally saved her, and she was placed inside the martial Soul City, jokingly calling it a hidden treasure in a golden house. After spending some time together, Zhu Zhuqin was horrified to find that she couldn't hate this murderer anymore. Now that Qin Wushuang is certain to die, she must go out and take a look no matter what, or to see how he died, or send him on his final journey. Perhaps the entire martial soul empire, only I can send him off. Zhu Zhuqin pushed open the courtyard door with a bitter smile and slowly walked out. Holy Soul Village. Village chief, unparalleled. An elderly woman in linen panicked and pushed open the courtyard door of old Jack, the village chief, and suddenly froze. In the dilapidated fence courtyard, old Jack village chief is getting older, with a hunched back carrying a backpack and leaning on a cane to slowly move out. Old eyes fluttering. I already know. Old Jack's lips trembled, filled with regret. The old man. Shouldn't have let him out. The old man wants to go to the martial soul city. My grandson. Bring it back. Even if it's just a corpse. The old man wants to bring him back. He is already very old, walking unsteadily, and almost fell as soon as he walked out of the courtyard. Fortunately, young villagers who came upon hearing the news helped him up. Old Jack village chief, Martial Soul City is too far away. The Martial Soul City is indeed too far away. If there is no special channel, it takes at least 1 or 2 years to reach the Holy Soul Village to the Martial Soul City. At that time, Qin Wushuang's grave grass was probably cut several times. But where can they afford special channels? But I always have to bring Wushuang back. He's my grandson. Old Jack, who had been strong for his whole life, burst into tears and felt immense pain in his heart. He never blamed Qin Wushuang for what happened, but he deeply regretted letting him leave him. If you haven't left, that Wushuang will always be his grandson, instead of being a traitor criticized by others. He seems to still remember, more than 20 years ago, one day, that pitiful little beggar. Clear eyes, innocent and innocent. Wuhun City Water Prison. As the huge stone door opened, Yan, dressed in red armor, slowly walked in, heavy footsteps. Just like his current mood, it is incredibly heavy. Yan's footsteps stopped and he looked at the young man bound to a huge iron pillar. His white clothes were covered in whiplash and bloodstains, with flesh and blood rolling up and down. The sewage that soaked half of his body was also stained red with blood, extremely miserable. Qin Wushuang. Yan slowly spoke up. There is complexity, hatred, and a touch of pain in the eyes. They were once good brothers, together crowned by the Pope as the Golden Generation. But how could he get hold of Xiaoyu? Yan, you're here. Are you going to execute me? Hearing Yan's voice, the young man's drooping head struggled to lift, revealing a handsome face with sword eyebrows and starry eyes. Qin Wushuang, who has committed countless and indescribable crimes, is being punished by countless people. He loves cleanliness and tidiness the most. Even in a water prison, one is still dressed in white clothes, and even with whiplash marks and bloodstains all over their body. Under Yan's care, I also left the last trace of dignity for him. Yan shook his head. After discussion under the Pope's coronation, they have decided to strip your memory and let the world review it together. Is the world jointly reviewing? Qin Wushuang's gaze was somewhat scattered, whether it's good or not. The world will review together. There are always things that can be taken out to bask in the sun. Someone here. Yan turned his head and gave orders to the soldiers behind him, take him out. At the foot of Wuhun Mountain, the world will review together. After the words fell, Yan decisively turned around. Several soldiers walked out from behind and quickly escorted Qin Wushuang, who was bound to the iron pillar. At the foot of Wuhun Mountain, a huge iron pillar, about 10 meters long, stands tall on a vast open space. 100 warriors of the martial soul empire, dressed in armor and wielding swords and spears, formed a circle around an iron pillar. Outside the circle, countless people in the city have surrounded the foot of Wuhun Mountain with water, causing crowds to gather and jostle with each other. Even some people have been waiting here since last night. Among them, besides the ordinary people of the martial soul city, there are more people who have rushed to the martial Soul City through special channels in the past 2 days, their eyes were filled with hatred. It seems like I wish I could devour the national thief Qin Wushuang alive and eat his flesh and bones. For a while, 100,000 people gathered at the foot of Wuhun Mountain, creating an incredibly spectacular scene. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. I'm sorry, but I couldn't hold on to your deity in the end. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. I'm sorry, but I couldn't hold on to your deity in the end soon. Qin Wushuang, who was extremely miserable, was escorted to the foot of Wuhun Mountain. The soldiers of the martial Soul Empire quickly stepped forward and tied them to the iron pillar with a wrist-thick iron chain. Crimson blood flowed down the wound, dripping from the toes onto the ground. The sound of ticking makes people hear it particularly clearly. Kill the national thief Qin Wushuang. I don't know who shouted loudly. Immediately, countless people rushed towards Qin Wushuang, who was bound to the iron pillar. With a crazy expression and red eyes filled with hatred, they are all family members of soldiers who died in battle in the martial Soul Empire. If it weren't for Qin Wushuang, the martial Soul Empire will have an absolute advantage in overthrowing the 2 towering mountains that are pressing on the heads of the common people in one fell swoop. If it weren't for Qin Wushuang, how could their son, husband, and father die in battle in front of Jiaoling Pass? They were extremely angry, crying blood in their voices. I wish I could divide Qin Wushuang and eat it. Fortunately, the warriors of the martial Soul Empire who form a circle are carefully selected soul masters at the level of soul sect. The reaction speed is extremely fast, immediately releasing one's martial soul, forming a steel-like wall. This prevented the people who were blinded by hatred from harming Qin Wushuang. However, even so, the people were also prepared to take out rotten vegetable leaves and smash the stinky eggs. For a while, the air below Wuhun Mountain is filled with an extremely unpleasant smell. In front of the papal hall on Mount Wuhun, Bibi Dong holds a scepter in his hand, sacred and inviolable. She slowly looked up and raised her chin high to look at the golden crocodile Douluo. Are you ready, golden crocodile? The voice is clear and cold, but it is full of no doubt. Golden crocodile Douluo, Qianjun Douluo, chrysanthemum Douluo, Tsigu Douluo, ghost leopard Douluo and 5 others looked at each other and answered in unison, Your Majesty, we are ready. Bibi nodded and a hint of complexity flashed through his slightly drooping cold eyes. Let's start then. As the words fell, the 5 titled Douluo quickly turned around and, as soon as they showed their bodies, they headed towards the foot of Wuhun Mountain. In front of the papal hall, Bibi Dong murmured softly, What a world to review together. I cannot understand why you betrayed me. She admires and trusts Qin Wushuang. She was even admitted as a student, and her status was no different from that of Helena. I never expected him to stab me in the back, almost causing her to turn the tables and suffer a huge loss. At the thought of this, a cold light flashed in Bibidong's eyes and he spoke loudly, Summon the Virgin. Summoning the princess. Let's take a look together, Gua. What exactly he thinks. In the end, I still haven't been able to name myself a traitor. Soon, Bulina and Qian Renxue walked into the papal palace and bowed to Bibi Dong. The 3 of them didn't speak, walk straight out of the papal hall, but anyone can feel the prelude to the approaching storm from the stagnant atmosphere. When the 3 of them walked into the canopy at the foot of Wuhun Mountain, the 5 titled Douluo were already in place, sitting cross-legged around Qin Wushuang with a cold and solemn expression. How was the memory placement prepared? Bibi Dong asked the person beside him. He answered truthfully, Report to your Majesty. The martial soul temples in all cities of the martial soul empire are ready to receive memories. Bibi nodded his head, Okay, tell the golden crocodile that they are ready to start. As the words fell, Bibi Dong stood up, the slender figure was revealed in over 100,000 gazes. Your Majesty. Tens of thousands of people bowed their heads and shouted, Your Majesty, long live, long live. Bibi nodded his head, flat. The voice is full of majesty and inviolability. Immediately after, she looked at Qin Wushuang, who was extremely miserable. with over 100,000 eyes, and spoke up, Qin Wushuang, do you know the sin? Hear the sound. Qin Wushuang struggled to turn around, his handsome face with almost dilated pupils. He opened his mouth as if saying something, but made no sound. Bibidong frowned, but some of the people became angry and roared, I understand lip language, this beast is saying he doesn't regret it. As the words fell, countless crowds of people surged and angry insults continued, rebels, livestock. He almost destroyed the entire martial soul empire and surprisingly said he didn't regret it. Kill him, kill him. Avenge my father, avenge the dead imperial soldiers. Amidst endless insults, Qin Wushuang still struggled to maintain a sideways movement. At the end of his gaze was a beautiful figure draped with long golden hair. She is the princess of the current martial soul empire, Qian Renxue. A hint of guilt flashed in Qin Wushuang's eyes, and he spoke in a low, imperceptible voice, I'm sorry. After all, I still couldn't keep your divine position. Under the canopy of the dome, Qian Renxue and Hulaina stand on both sides of BB East. Seems to feel Qin Wushuang's gaze, Qian Renshue's delicate body couldn't help but tremble, and instinctively looked over. The resolute figure in white clothes in my memory was now extremely miserable, with numerous wounds and bloodstains on the white clothes. Her gaze was sad and sorrowful, intertwined with love and hate, extremely complex. It was he who melted his cold and desolate heart. He also pulled himself up from the abyss. They both admired each other and fell in love with each other. I even made a lifelong commitment early on. But it's him. When Prince Xuexing sent someone to assassinate him, no one was found and disappeared without a trace. It's also him. I leaked my true identity to the Snow Knight Emperor, almost falling on the road of escape. It's still him, designed poisoning to lure and kill the grandfather who loves him the most. The person I love the most, but I hurt her the most. This is unacceptable to Qian Renxue. The world's joint review is beginning. As Bibidong's majestic words fell, the 5 titled Douluo simultaneously shook their soul power. 45 soul rings are incredibly brilliant, emitting a brilliant light, instantaneous time. The majestic and surging soul power, like mountains and seas, quickly enveloped Qin Wushuang's body. And this scene, in the eyes of Bibidong and Qian Renxue, both titled Douluo, there is a clear glimpse of the network spirit thread contained in the majestic soul power. It is constantly flooding into Qin Wushuang's mind. His eyelids twitched uncontrollably, and his head was in pain like a needle prick, struggling and twisting his body covered in bruises. He could only futilely drive the iron chains to make a clattering sound. Qin Wushuang. I treat you well, just like a child. But you repay me with kindness, attempting to overthrow my martial soul empire. Now I want to see what's really on your mind. As Bibidong's cold voice spread, the 5 titled Douluo once again made a move, and a huge transparent beam of light refracted from Qin Wushuang's head, straight to the sky. At the same time, in front of the martial soul hall in all city centers of the martial soul empire, they were also filled with a dense crowd, and they were equally indignant, staring closely at a huge mirror standing horizontally in the void. In an instant, a huge and dazzling light burst out from the mirror, causing countless people to instinctively close their eyes. However, just as they reopened their eyes, the scene projected from the huge mirror shook their hearts immensely. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. That beast, he's still laughing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. That beast, he's still laughing. In the picture, the tall city wall built against the mountain stretches across the vast plain like a winding giant snake, completely dividing it into 2 pieces. Inside and outside the city walls, flags are displayed. The densely packed army is like a torrent of steel, constantly charging towards the towering city walls, one after another, shouting to kill Zhentian. Faced with the surging enemy like a tide, the soldiers on the tall city wall showed a cold and resolute expression, fearlessly drawing arrows from behind. In verbal commands, the bow pulls the full moon and beats the strings. Arrows burst like rain, falling into the enemy below, harvesting life one after another. Above the sky, flying soul masters are also attacking each other, the soul ring shines brightly, and various powerful soul skills bloom in the void, killing. There are constantly flying soul masters whose bodies have just fallen when they are trampled into a pile of flesh and blood, which is extremely tragic. The scene projected from Qin Wushuang's memory silenced countless angry civilians, regardless of gender, age, or even Bibi Dong, Qian Renxue, Hulaina, and others under the canopy. Their faces became extremely solemn. "This is..." someone exclaimed in surprise, breaking the silence. "This is the Battle of Jiaoling Pass." Someone exclaimed in shock, with a shocked expression on their face. 2 years have passed since the Battle of Jiaoling Pass, and apart from those who have personally experienced it, others only know that this battle resulted in countless casualties, tragic and heroic, and dealt a heavy blow to the vitality of the two empires, Tiando and Xingluo. But in this simple sentence, where can there be the impact and shock brought to them by Qin Wushuang's memory? Yes, this is the Battle of Jiaoling Pass. My brother is buried here forever. There are lame veterans with tears streaming down their faces. Many women began to cry in pain, many of them had their fathers, husbands, and sons buried forever in front of Jiaoling Pass. It's all the fault of this national bandit. If it weren't for him, how could the great offering die, and how could the 8 soul Douluo lords die? They won't die. How could we make such a great sacrifice in the Battle of Jiaoling Pass? Kill Qin Wushuang, kill the national bandits. Kill the traitors and seek revenge for the great offering. Revenge the 8 deceased soul Douluo adults and the 30.6 soul saint adults. After the grief, the people roared again, requesting the dismemberment of the traitor Qin Wushuang in countless pieces as a warning to others. Under the canopy, Bibi Dong's complexion was complex. The Battle of Jiaoling Pass, even though her heart was already as iron, every time she recalled it, it was also heart-wrenching and palpitating. It's really too tragic, too dangerous to survive. Listening to the people's petitions in my ears, Qian Renshue's eyes were in pain, staring intently at Qin Wushuang, who was bound to the iron pillar, and loudly questioning him, "Why did you kill my grandfather? Why? Why? If Grandpa were here, the martial soul empire would never have paid such a great price. If my grandfather were here, I wouldn't have been shattered by Tang Chen's surprise attack. You damn it, you really damn it. I will definitely kill you with my own hands." The sound of Qian Renxue was filled with bone-chilling hatred. Qin Wushuang, who was bound, seemed to hear the voice of Qian Renxue. He coughed twice with difficulty, slowly and forcefully lifting his head to look at the image projected into the void. "I didn't expect." Cough. "I didn't expect." His voice was extremely low, as if he were self-deprecating, speaking to himself. "I never expected that this scene would be the deepest thing in my heart." Cough. Cough. Obsession. No one knows. This is the eternal meaning in Qin Wushuang's heart that is difficult to calm. In front of Jiaoling Pass, the golden shadow shattered its divine form, and the martial soul hall collapsed. The magnificent first empress Bibi Dong wept in blood at the city's gates, feeling sad and desperate. In the memory of the release, the screen still continues. The joint forces of the two countries have been advancing one after another, although countless people died on the road of charge and countless people filled the gaps ahead. Finally someone arrived under the walls of Jiaolingwan. They quickly erected a ladder and climbed upwards with the help of auxiliary soul masters in the military, fearless in the face of death. Finally, someone arrived at the top of the city. Facing, but countless prepared warriors of the martial soul empire, like a forest of knives and guns, it was unable to counterattack and died instantly. This scene in my memory, relaxing the tense nerves of the people, they all breathed a sigh of relief. I feel that Jiaoling Pass is as solid as gold and there is no possibility for the joint forces of the two countries to break through. However, at this moment, suddenly, voices and shouts came from the memory of the scene. Tiando will surely win. Lanhao Wang will surely win. Next, a faint golden light, like a shooting star, shot fiercely from the army of the heavenly Dou Empire. the speed is extremely fast, and the golden light almost instantly fills the entire memory screen. Extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. In an instant, the vertical and horizontal golden light revealed its true image, a golden trident divine halberd. The trident divine halberd exploded with dazzling golden light, hitting the gate of Jialing Pass with a thunderous roar. With a earth-shattering explosion, the heavy gate of Jialing Pass shattered instantly, and countless fragments flew out. Sea God Trident Qin Wushuang gasped for breath and stared closely at the scene. In a world without him, Tang San relied on this trident of the sea god to pierce through the impregnable Jialing Pass in one fell swoop. Then he showed another smile, this scene in my memory, because of his arrival, it is destined not to appear again. The fact is that Tang San, who could overthrow the martial Soul Empire in one fell swoop, had long been strangled in the cradle by him. In the memory screen, the gate of Jialing Pass is shattered, countless allied forces from both countries rushed in, killing through the shattered city gates into the Jialing Pass, and countless warriors of the martial Soul Empire were reaped their lives. This scene once again made countless people's eyes crack. It seems as if I have seen my family's heads cut off, becoming a military achievement for the soldiers of the two countries. Someone noticed the smile on Qin Wushuang's lips. Suddenly, he became uncontrollable and extremely angry. This beast, he's still laughing. The impregnable Jialing Pass was breached, and the soldiers of the empire had their heads cut off. He was so happy and excited. He is an unforgivable devil, a scumbag with heart and lungs. Give back my father's life. Even someone took off their shoes and threw them at Qin Wushuang, but it was blocked by the elite of the empire in a circle. Under the canopy, upon seeing this scene, Bibi Dong's eyebrows furrowed and he looked at Helena beside him, speaking, "Saint, has anyone ever broken through Jialing Pass?" Helena, with a lot of confusion in her eyes, shook her head. "Teacher, Jialing Pass is as solid as gold and is indestructible. There is absolutely no possibility of being breached by anyone, nor has it ever been breached by anyone." Bibi Dong nodded and looked at the image being placed in the void. "So what's going on here?" Memories will never be false. Bibi Dong also believed that it was impossible for the golden crocodile Douluo and others to cheat in front of her. But in that case, what exactly happened to this scene from Qin Wushuang's memory? However, what the two of them didn't know was that, standing on the other side of Bibi Dong, Qian Renshue's pupils contracted sharply as he saw the young man throwing the trident. Although there has been a significant change in appearance, but one can still vaguely see the shadow of that young man. Tang San. End of this chapter. This memory in Chapter 5 is completely different from what we have experienced. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This memory in Chapter 5 is completely different from what we have experienced. The memory is still ongoing. After the collapse of Jialing Pass, the wind and clouds surged. The moat suddenly stirred up towering waves, carrying 1,000 pounds of gravity and pouring wildly into the Jialing Pass. A large number of soldiers guarding the city head of Jialing Pass were swept down by the huge waves, heavy falls and loss of combat effectiveness. Countless powerful defending giant dragons, as well as stone-throwing racks, were destroyed in the ravages of the waves. For a moment, the situation changed rapidly. The martial Soul Empire, which had previously gained the upper hand, became precarious. Damn it, it's Tang San. The shadow of Helena appears in the memory screen. At this moment, she is heroic and spirited. Behind him stood 5 powerful titled Douluo. If you don't take action again, Jialing Pass will be over. Even if you die, you must block Tang San back. With him here, our defense will collapse. She roared at the 5 titled Douluo. However, the 5 of them looked at each other with no intention of taking action, which made Helena very angry. She's right, this is an order, you all charge up for me. At this moment, a hoarse voice rang out again in the memory screen. Accompanied by the sound, Bibi Dong stood on the city wall with a pale face. Why don't they listen to the orders of the Virgin and go to battle? Who are these several titled Douluo? We must expose them. because they are afraid of their opponents and have caused many imperial soldiers to die in vain. The people who watched this scene were discussing and criticizing the 5 titled Douluo behind Hulaina. Until Bibidong's figure appeared, countless people cheered in unison, as if they had seen the savior. But they didn't notice that their empress was pale at this moment. It looks like a serious injury has not healed yet. Saint, do you remember this scene? Under the dome of the canopy, Bibidong's beautiful eyes were even more puzzled, and he couldn't help but turn his head and ask. Teacher, there isn't either. This memory is completely different from our memory. Hulina was also full of confusion, shaking her head wildly. She was deeply impressed by the Battle of Jialingwen. Although it was brutal, the Jialing Pass remained steadfast and never been breached. Let's continue reading. There will always be an answer. Bibidong lightly tapped on the armrest, pondering and saying. Memories are still ongoing. The 5 titled Douluo who received orders from Bibidong were planning to take action. More than 10 people landed steadily on the city's top. It was Tang San, Xiao Wu, Dai Mubai, Zhu Zhuqing, Ma Hongjun, Oscar, Ning Rongrong, Poison Douluo Dugabo, Sword Douluo Qian Renxue, Bone Douluo Gu Rong, 7 treasures Liuli Zongningfengji, Franda, Lu Erlong, and the master Yu Shaojiang who came to fight for mixed military achievements in soy sauce. Kill. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. The 2 sides immediately opened fire and fought together. With a command from Bibidong, a large number of intermediate and senior soul masters appeared to join the battle group. Countless brilliant and powerful soul rings are released, shining in harmony and crisscrossing. One powerful and terrifying soul skill after another erupted, with a brilliant light accompanied by a huge roar, causing the memory image to shake violently like being filled with colorful light. Large-scale and powerful soul master battles, it's really too terrifying, too shocking. Someone kept flying backwards and then exploded in an instant, becoming a shower of blood. Just as someone took a breath, their chest was pierced by soul skills and they would sleep forever. There is a flying soul warrior who stands in the void and swiftly ambushes his opponent, only to be shattered by a golden long halberd. On the city tower, under the city tower, the army of the martial Soul Empire was also strangled together with the coalition forces of the 2 empires. The sound of knives and guns colliding, the sound of knives and guns piercing into the flesh, the splashing sound of blood, the screams before death, formed a series of tragic and magnificent scenes. The sunset seems to be completely dyed red by the blood. Especially poignant, cold, and full of killing intent. This is impossible. In an unnamed small town, Ning Rongrong, who watched this scene through the release of memories, had already shed tears. She couldn't believe that she had seen her deceased companion again in this way. But Sangu and his companions were already killed by the executioner Qin Wushuang, and she also witnessed with her own eyes that the 3rd brother was cut into several pieces of body. How could it have appeared in the Battle of Jialing Pass, still so powerful? Rongrong, memories cannot be fake. Oscar held Ning Rongrong in his arms and comforted him softly. Then there must be something inside that we don't know. Let's keep watching and we'll know. Sword Douluo's face couldn't conceal his fatigue, and as a first-hand witness to the Battle of Jialingwen, he was greatly shocked by all of this. The coalition forces of the 2 empires did not fail to consider breaking through the Jialing Pass and made several actions, but every time it's a big loss, with heavy losses. That's why we have the helpless choice of the final top-level battle. At the foot of Wuhun Mountain, countless people have already wept together. Some of them saw their father being stabbed in the chest with a knife and gun, bleeding against the wall. Some elderly men also saw their sons having their heads chopped off as military achievements tied to their waists. There is also a wife holding a child, who sees her husband being pierced all over his body by countless arrows, and cries of pain continue. There are also disabled veterans who saw the enemy stomping on the bodies of their comrades. Pain. A bone-piercing pain. What pain can compare to it? Watching my loved ones die in front of me, but I am powerless. They are in excruciating pain, piercing their hearts with pain, with hatred in his eyes, he could only stare closely at Qin Wushuang on the iron pillar, bite one's teeth, with a raging hatred. If it weren't for him, the Battle of Jialing Pass wouldn't have been so difficult. If the Great Offering did not die, 8 soul Douluo did not die, and 30.6 soul saints did not die, Jialing Pass would never be breached by anyone. National thief, you almost dug the foundation of my martial soul empire. They are so mad with hatred, full of towering hatred towards Qin Wushuang. However, the disabled veterans who had personally experienced the Battle of Martial Soul City silently watched the memory footage. This is impossible. Someone muttered to themselves, he is one of the defenders of Jialing Pass, and I remember very clearly, Jialing Pass was never conquered by anyone. But memory cannot be fake, so what exactly is going on? Bibi Dong, Hulayina, Qian Renxue, and Yan, who was wearing armor not far away, all watched silently. As first-hand experienced individuals, they have long felt that things are extraordinary. The image in Qin Wushuang's memory, how could it be so vastly different from the actual Battle of Jialing Pass? What is the secret behind this? Nana, what do you think about this? Qian Renxue looked at Hulayina and asked. At this point in the Battle of Jialingwan, she had not yet joined the battlefield, so she was not very clear about the situation at that time. Hulina also shook her head with some uncertainty. I'm not sure, Guo. His memory is different from what we have experienced. But I can be certain that the Battle of Jialing Pass will definitely end with the victory of our martial soul empire. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here either. At the end, she even laughed self-deprecatingly. If it were mocking oneself, how could Qin Wushuang's memories be brought into the ditch? After Qian Renxue fell silent, she also nodded with a smile. At this moment, the memory screen flickered, Hulayina was thrown high by Tang and flew backwards. At the same time, the trident of the sea god erupted with a brilliant golden light, drawing a fan-shaped arc and shooting away. This is impossible. Hulayina's face suddenly changed drastically at the foot of Wuhun Mountain requesting recommended tickets. The new author has a headache. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Qin Wushuang and Tang San. They actually know each other. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Qin Wushuang and Tang San. They actually know each other. This is impossible. Through the memory screen, Hulina could feel the immense power emanating from the trident of the sea god. Make her scalp tingle and her hair stand on end. It can be imagined that after this blow, it was extremely difficult for her to escape the fate of death. The trident of the sea god was incredibly powerful, and as it was about to slay Hulina, a dense web of spiders suddenly erupted from behind her. In an instant, the power of the trident of the sea god suddenly decreased, which allowed Hulina to escape a disaster. At the same time, Pope Bibidon pulled over Hulina and retreated, the spider web symbol on his forehead shining even brighter, increased the release of death zones. In an instant, the strange realm of death not only covers Tang San, but also extends towards the other strong forces of the city-head Heavenly Do Empire. Her Majesty the Empress is invincible. Long live your Majesty, long live the Empire of Martial Souls. Seeing this scene, countless people cheer again. Her Majesty the Queen has taken action, so the strong enemy will surely be wiped out and have no strength to counterattack. They seem to have seen the powerful figures of the two empires, Tiando and Xingluo, struggling in the realm of Empress Dowager's death. Endless cheers, endless shouting. However, Bibi Dong and Qian Renxue had a solemn expression and their faces gradually became ugly. Except for the title Douluo, which 5 of them teamed up to trace the memories of Qin Wushuang, only the 2 of them in the field could feel it, and Tang San also released a strong field to confront it, and it never fell behind at all. How could this be possible? Who exactly is this young man? I have never heard of such a strong person on the mainland. Bibi Dong spoke softly and muttered to himself. The performance of the young man was truly demonic. At such a young age, he was able to fight on par with her and still had the upper hand. He should be Tang San. Qian Renxue's answer was somewhat uncertain, with a complex tone. Tang San. Bibi Dong looked at his daughter in confusion and asked in surprise, why haven't I ever heard of this name? Qian Renxue shook his head. Just as he was about to speak, his face changed slightly and he asked loudly, what happened? The huge mirror of memory projection is covered in a white mist, with no more images. The 5 titled Douluo who joined forces also opened their eyes and glanced at each other. Only the level 92 prickly dolphin Douluo grins bitterly. Princess, the method of recalling memories consumes too much. My injury hasn't fully recovered yet, I can't bear it. Qian Renxue nodded and said, Uncle Thorny Blood, please rest for a while. Tsigu Douluo continued to speak, Princess, if you can't wait, there's actually one more person. If he joins, the 6 of us titled Douluo will take turns resting, and the memory gap will not be too long. Qian Renxue was lost in thought and said, Uncle Thorny Blood, are you talking about Tuoba Shi, the leader of the Holy Dragon sect? As a newly appointed title Douluo, the Holy Dragon Patriarch Tuoba Shi also narrowly survived the Battle of Jialing Pass and has been closed in the sect for healing. Yes, that old man was not seriously injured, but he was greedy for life and afraid of death. After the Battle of Jialingwen, he never left the Holy Dragon sect again. Princess, please give him the next order to rush from the special channel to the Martial Soul City. He can only be here in 1 day at most. Tsigu Douluo seemed to speak very displeased with Tuoba Shi. Okay, I'll have someone call him over now. After exchanging a glance with Bibi Dong, Qian Renxue sent someone to deliver a message to Tuobaxi, who was far away in the Holy Dragon sect. After arranging these, Bibi Dong looked at the silent tens of thousands of people at the foot of Wuhun Mountain. Let's disperse first and come back tomorrow. The sound utilized a special technique and fell clearly into the ears of every citizen. However, they sat cross-legged and took out the prepared dry food to nibble on, and no one left. The hateful gaze fixed firmly on Qin Wushuang, who was bound to the iron pillar, as if afraid that someone would release him after they left. Seeing that they couldn't be persuaded, and Bibi Dong didn't force them either, he turned to Qian Renxue and asked, Princess, what did your words mean just now? Qian Renxue naturally understood the meaning of her mother's question, and hesitated to explain when she saw Hulina also casting a curious gaze at her. Tang San is a young man with excellent combat talent, and he has had several connections with me. When he was lurking in the heavenly Dou Empire, I even thought of wooing him. However, he has only 2 similarities in appearance with the youth in Qin Wushuang's memory, so I am not sure. And he. A hint of complexity flashed through Qian Renxue's eyes. Due to my efforts to win over Tang San, Qin Wushuang was overwhelmed with jealousy and anger, and he was executed. When I saw Tang San's dismembered body, I was certain that it was Qin Wushuang's method, but there was no conclusive evidence. Coupled with my special relationship with Qin Wushuang at the time, this was not delved deeper. Having heard the explanation, Bidong and Hulina were even more puzzled. Have you been attacked by someone who has already died? It's a bit outrageous and hard to accept. Hulina's heart moved and she asked, is it possible that the young man in Qin Wushuang's memory is Tang San's brother or father? There's no such possibility. Qian Renxue shook his head. I have investigated that his father is Tang Hao of Heoshenzong, and he has no brothers or sisters. So this speculation never holds true. Bibi's eyes froze and he said, is Tang Hao his father? Qian Renxue continued to answer, yes, according to my investigation at the time. Tang Hao fled to a place called Holy Soul Village in the southwestern province of Fasno in the Tiando Empire to avoid our pursuit. Tang Hao and his son Tang San lived there for about 6 years. However, just as she finished speaking, Hulina, who had been listening attentively, exclaimed in surprise, what? Holy Soul Village. Bibi Dong frowned and said, Nana, what's going on? It was a sudden surprise. Lina took a deep breath and her hateful gaze fell on the bound Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang, a national thief, also comes from Xinghun village. After speaking, Helena continued to raise questions. Is it possible that Qin Wushuang met Tang San, whom the princess referred to as Tang San? They were even childhood friends. But since the two of them know each other, why did Qin Wushuang want to kill Tang San again? And why is Tang San, who should have died, so powerful in Qin Wushuang's memory that he can fight on par with your majesty? There are too many questions that cannot be explained at all. Rao, the three women are all the most outstanding and powerful in the world, unable to clear their joints for a moment. Just ask him and you'll know. Qian Renxue was puzzled and decided to walk directly out of the dome towards the giant pillar that bound Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang, do you have anything you want to say to me? This is the first time Qian Renxue has spoken to Qin Wushuang since he poisoned his grandfather. Seeing Qian Renxue slowly walking towards me, wearing a golden palace dress, flowing clouds with wide sleeves, and a golden standing collar, elegant, with an unparalleled temperament, like a goddess from Yaoqi, beautiful beyond measure. There was a light in Qin Wu's eyes, flashing away in a flash. I have nothing to say. Although the throne was shattered, he at least saved her life, which proves that everything he did was worth it. So he doesn't regret it. There is nothing to say. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Is also you, pushing me back into the abyss. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 is also you, pushing me back into the abyss. There is nothing to say. Upon hearing Qin Wushuang's answer, Qian Renxue suddenly became angry and slapped him directly in the face. I love you and trust you immensely. How did you treat me? Where were you when I was assassinated by the assassin in the dispute of usurping the throne? You stayed up all night at the Gulan Tavern, slaughtered civilians on the 10-mile street and secretly killed the genius soul master I had carefully recruited. Reporting my identity to the Snow Knight Emperor put me in prison and almost died in the siege. It's also a design to poison my grandfather who loves me the most. But now you tell me that you have nothing to say. It was you who awakened my dead heart, and it was you who pushed me back into the abyss. Can you tell me why you're doing this? Why? Qin Wushuang fell silent as he listened to the woman, who was widely recognized as having a deep and scheming mind, and her red eyes were filled with tears as she loudly questioned her. He is not good at words and cannot answer Qian Renshue's question. Do you want to tell her that you come from a distant blue star and know everything about the development of Douluo Continent? Especially the sentence, "It was you who awakened my dead heart, and it was you who pushed me back into the abyss," made Qin Wushuang's heart ache. Qin Wushuang opened his mouth when he looked at the scene of Qianren's snow, pear blossom and rain. He wanted to hold her in his arms and comfort her. But now, all of this is just a delusion. There is an insurmountable chasm between the two of them, destined to follow 1,000 deaths. You go. Qin Wushuang said with difficulty, I have nothing to say. But never regret. As soon as he finished speaking, he closed his eyes and stopped looking at Qian Renxue. Qian Renshue's delicate body trembled and surprisingly laughed, after the joint review of the world. I will kill you with my own hands. With a ferocious smile, the pain of laughter, laughing in despair. At this moment, the only trace of love for Qin Wushuang in my heart is completely gone, only filled with anger and hatred. Qin Wushuang's eyes were tightly closed and indifferent. However, what no one noticed was that his hand, bound behind the giant pillar, trembled violently. Wind, it seems to have become colder. Zhu Zhuqing, who was hiding among tens of thousands of people at the foot of Wuhun Mountain, faintly heard the conversation between Qian Renxue and Qin Wushuang, feeling dazed in his heart. She seemed to remember that she had asked Qin Wushuang a question before, why save her as an enemy? Yes, even though he killed his fiancée, he also saved himself from Zhu Zhuyan's pursuit. So she asked Qin Wushuang, why save her enemy? Qin Wushuang's answer is very simple, because you don't deserve to die. He didn't deserve to die, so he saved her. So can we understand, are all the people he killed damn? Qin Wushuang, what kind of person are you? Zhu Zhuqing's gaze fell on Qin Wushuang, very complicated. The next morning, Saint Dragon Douluo Tuabaxi entered the martial soul city through special channels. He didn't stop at all and went straight to the foot of Wuhun Mountain in the center of Wuhun City. After a night of waiting, the number of people gathered at the foot of Wuhun Mountain did not decrease at all, but instead increased by many nearby people who only arrived last night. For a while, the number of people at the foot of the mountain has almost exceeded 100,000. Looking at it all, there were densely packed heads, rubbing shoulders and pushing forward with all their might. Everyone wants to see what happens to the heinous national thief Qin Wushuang. After bowing to Bibi Dong and Qian Renxue, Tuoba she quickly found the golden crocodile Douluo and others. After some discussion, he understood what to do and replaced the position of the Tsigu Douluo. 5 titled Douluo simultaneously took action, each releasing their own soul rings. Spiritual threads flowed through Qin Wushuang's mind with their surging soul power. Memories continue to trace back, and images are once again displayed on the huge mirror in the void. Under the bloody sunset, the city walls collapse, and corpses are scattered everywhere. The blood that converges into a stream slowly flows through the city gates and into the moat. On the moat, which was completely stained red with blood, endless corpses floated and countless limbs and arms were broken. It's unbearable, like hell. The wind blew and stirred the broken flag hanging diagonally on the gate tower, a desolate and tragic scene. Where is this? Is it still Jiaoling Pass? Didn't we win? Some people were lost and burst into tears. The images of Qin Wushuang's memories collide fiercely with reality, making them even unaware of where the truth lies. Since we have won, what's going on with Qin Wushuang's memory? Screen rotation, over Jiaoling Pass, a soft light slowly fell and stumbled onto the top of the city. The light dissipated, the figures inside were undoubtedly Qian Renxue, who had lost his angelic attire, and Bibi Dong, who had been pierced through his body by Tang San's Shura demon sword. It's Her Majesty and Princess, and we have indeed won. The Battle of Jiaoling Pass was too brutal, but fortunately, we won. Long live the Empire of Martial Souls, long live Her Majesty the Empress. Finally won, Wuwu. The people who watched this scene finally suppressed the sadness that surged in their hearts, cheering for the victory of the Martial Soul Empire. Some people couldn't help but cry, feeling that the dead soldiers had not sacrificed in vain. Bibi Dong, sitting under the canopy of the canopy, suddenly turned ugly. She felt something in her heart and suddenly looked up at the void in the picture. Void vibration, following closely behind Bibi Dong and Qian Renxue, a figure calmly descended. It is none other than Tang San. Tang San, you won. Bibi Dong in the memory picture struggled to speak while holding the hilt with both hands. Boom. As her words fell, the tens of thousands of people who were originally noisy at the foot of Wuhun Mountain instantly fell silent. They stared incredulously at the memories cast into the void. How could this be possible? Has the Martial Soul Empire been defeated in battle? But we have clearly won. Tiando and Xinglua empires, except for their remaining sins, all their territories have been unified. Memories are still ongoing. Yu Shaojiang suddenly appeared, and Bibi Dong revealed her feelings until she mentioned a secret story she had shared with her former Pope Qianji back then. The queen's face under the canopy suddenly turned ugly, and she ordered the 5 titled Douluo who were working together to recall their memories. That's enough. Some secrets are the eternal scars in her heart. Every time they are uncovered, they will hurt her heart deeply. Moreover, at the foot of the Martial Soul Mountain, with nearly 100,000 people, should we share our shame with them? Golden Crocodile Douluo suddenly opened his eyes. Stop immediately without hesitation. In an instant, the huge mirror that cast memories dimmed and once again turned white and hazy. Next, under the dome of the canopy, Bibidong's figure disappeared. The next moment, Qin Wushuang, who was tied to the giant pillar with his head tilted, felt like his neck was caught by a cold palm. Say, what do you know? The voice is cold and contains a terrifying killing intent. The previous chapter was incorrect and has been replaced. I'm really sorry, please ask for a ticket, end of this chapter. Chapter 8. Qin Wushuang, he also suffered from cold ridicule and ridicule. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Qin Wushuang, he also suffered from cold ridicule and ridicule, teacher. Seeing Bibi Dong, Qin Wushuang gasped heavily, a bitter smile also appeared on his face. Teacher, I know everything. So. I have to. Do something. Cough, cough, cough. The weak voice was intermittent, as if there was a possibility of dying in the next second, but the words revealed a firm belief. That's right, Qianji is seeking death, Yu Shaojiang also died, so even 1,000 streams have to die. Anyone who has harmed Bibi Dong will die. You. After understanding the meaning of Qin Wushuang, Bibi Dong's heart trembled and he said, how did you know? This is her biggest secret, she has never told anyone, but how did you know? Qin Wushuang pursed his lips tightly and stopped speaking. At this moment, they won't believe anything they say. Seeing Qin Wushuang stop speaking, Bibi Dong's gloomy eyes flickered, and he put down his palm that was pinching his throat, turning his head coldly. He spoke to the golden crocodile Douluo and others, skip this paragraph and continue to recall memories. Knowing that the conversation in Qin Wushuang's memory may be related to the secrets of Tianda, golden crocodile Douluo and others dared not explore further, so they had to agree, continue to trace back along his memory. The huge mirror that casts memories continues to light up, the barren mountain village, the curling smoke from the kitchen, the narrow path by the field, the occasional barking of dogs, and the old man carrying a hoe back home, every one outlines the peaceful scene of the small mountain village. On this day, outside the village came a small beggar with a yellow face and thin skin. He looks only 2 or 3 years old, wearing coarse and worn-out clothes, and his whole body is dirty, looking very pitiful. As soon as the little beggar walked into the village, a group of children aged 5 or 6 gathered around him, pointing and mocking him. Some even kept following the little beggar and suddenly rushed up to push him to the ground. Seeing the little beggar so embarrassed, everyone burst into laughter and felt extremely proud. The little beggar who fell remained silent, just silently getting up from the ground and continuing to walk forward. The small figure knocked on the door from door to door, praying that the owner would give them something to eat. Soon there was a wrinkled old woman who handed a half piece of mantou to the little beggar. He also helped the little beggar disperse the children who were teasing him. The little beggar held a half piece of mantou tightly. The dirty little face was full of gratitude, constantly bowing down to express gratitude to the old lady. The old lady looked at the little beggar with pity in her eyes, wanting to say something more, but she shook her head helplessly and then closed the door. When the little beggar found a deserted corner and was about to eat half of the mantou given by the old lady, there is a barking dog behind me. Wong wong wong. The little beggar, startled by the barking of the dog, seemed to have some bad memories, and his small body trembled with fear. Half of the mantou in his hand also rolled out. My mantou! The little beggar exclaimed in surprise and was about to pick it up. However, at this moment, a dark shadow, which was faster than him, rushed directly and took the mantou in his mouth. He is a huge black dog. The big black dog glared fiercely at the little beggar, revealing its sharp fangs and occasionally making threatening noises. Looking at this big black dog that's even bigger than me, the little beggar was stunned. Tears finally streamed down my eyes, and big drops fell to the ground. He is extremely hungry and also extremely aggrieved. Why, other children bully him, even this big black dog bullies him. Big black dog didn't leave until he finished eating mantou. Before leaving, he wagged his tail in a demonstration, making the little beggar even more aggrieved. I don't know how long I cried. There were footsteps coming from behind. The footsteps grew closer and closer until they stopped behind the little beggar. Stop crying, the little beggar turned around and saw an old man standing behind him. The old man looked like he was in his 60s, with a slender figure and a lively spirit. Although he was only wearing a coarse cloth shirt, he was cleaned very clean. His name is Old Jack and he is the village chief of Holy Soul Village. Under the sunset, I don't know what Old Jack said to the little beggar. Not long after, the little beggar tentatively reached out his dirty little hand to Old Jack. A soft smile appeared on Old Jack's face, and he slowly and firmly took the little beggar's hand and walked towards the direction of home. On this day, Old Jack, who had been widowed for a lifetime, had a grandson named Qin Wushuang. Seeing this scene, whether it was at the foot of Wuhun Mountain or all the people who saw this scene through memory casting, they were all surprised and discussing, begging all the way and receiving ridicule and cold eyes. Qin Wushuang, a national thief, was also quite pitiful when he was young. Is it possible that it was his childhood experiences that completely twisted his soul and led him to do so many outrageous things when he grew up? Have you seen the look in his eyes towards the children who were bullying him just now, as if he wanted to devour them alive? Oh my God, if that's really the case, then Qin Wushuang is simply too terrifying. I knew at a young age that I couldn't bear to hide, no wonder I could deceive Her Majesty and them for so long. It is said that this villain has been bullying people since he was young, but I want to see how he behaves wickedly. They all cursed fiercely. The hatred towards Qin Wushuang will never change because of the pitiful little beggar in the picture. Or in their inherent impression, a national thief like Qin Wushuang should have been a natural villain who did nothing wrong since childhood. At the same time, Notting City Seoul Hall Square. Thousands of people from Notting City are also gathered together to participate in watching this special trial. When the memory casting mirror froze, the scene of the old man leading a little beggar home in the sunset immediately became noisy. Holy Soul Village, why is this place a bit familiar? Don't you say, isn't there a Holy Soul Village outside of Notting City? Is it really that village? Regardless of whether he is true or not, just go and take a look after the trial to find out. Okay, I'll go too. I really want to know what kind of existence Qin Wushuang is in a place that can cultivate demons like him. What kind of existence can it be? There must be evil deeds everywhere, and even other people in the village may be full of evil. That's right, then we'll just burn down the Holy Soul Village and bury the sins along with the fire. Okay, that makes sense. Let's go together. Go together, go together, go together, ha ha ha. Countless people loudly discussed, and even rightfully harbored malice towards the Holy Soul Village. As they discussed how to destroy the Holy Soul Village after the trial ended, little did they know that life and death can be determined solely by personal speculation. Isn't this really a kind of evil? And what they didn't know was that at this moment, a dilapidated wooden cart was pushed here by several simple middle-aged men. The old man lying on the wooden cart, it was the Old Jack village chief who never stood up again after falling. Looking at the scene of memory casting, Old Jack, the village chief, tears streamed down his face. There was an issue with the order of yesterday's chapters, which has been revised. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. I want to become someone like him. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. I want to become someone like him. The memory projection screen is still ongoing, after Xiao Wushuang was adopted by Old Jack. Although the clothes he changed into didn't fit well, they were washed very clean, and his skin was already white. Her well-behaved appearance almost instantly made other people in the village fall in love with this child. Perhaps due to long-term begging, although Xiao Wushuang is only 3 years old, he is very sensible. Not only does he never trouble Old Jack in life, but he also often wakes up early to prepare meals. My small body cannot reach the height of the stove. Xiao Wushuang brought a small stool and stepped on it to cook and clean the house one by one. Old Jack has also criticized him. Xiao Wushuang shook his head. Perhaps at that time, Qin Wushuang could only think of repaying Grandpa Jack's adoption in this way. I can't resist it. Old Jack, the village chief, shook his head helplessly. Just the next day, he woke up early, but when Old Jack walked into the kitchen, he had already seen candles burning inside. the small figure was already busy stepping on the small stool. After watching for a while, old Jack silently turned around and returned to the room. In the morning, the sun is shining brightly. Old Jack, who had finished farming and returned to the courtyard, called little Wushuang out of the kitchen and asked, "Wushuang, why don't you go play with other children in the village?" Xiao Wushuang's eyes lit up for a moment, then dimmed again. "I don't want to play with them." "Why?" Old Jack crouched down, his wrinkled face softened. Xiao Wushuang is very aggrieved. Once, as soon as he walked out of his grandfather's courtyard, he was spotted by a child in the village who was several years older than him, ridicule, mockery, pushing him to the ground from behind. Someone even smashed him in the head with a small stone. Little Wushuang didn't tell Grandpa about all this and didn't want him to worry about his own affairs anymore. But after all, he was just a child. Faced with his grandfather's inquiry, he couldn't help but speak up. "They call me little beggar." Grandpa Jack suddenly stood up, his angry expression startled little Wushuang. He picked up the pole on the ground and was about to go out, but felt someone tightly pulling at the corner of his clothes behind him. Looking back, I saw Xiao Wushuang pursing his lips tightly. "Grandpa! Don't go." "Okay." There were tears swirling in Xiao Wushuang's eyes, very pitiful. "My poor grandson." Old Jack burst into tears, quickly squatting down to embrace his small body, gently patting his back to comfort. "Grandpa won't go. Grandpa won't go." In old Jack's arms, little Wushuang sobbed and nodded. After crying for a long time, little Wushuang sniffed and exclaimed in surprise, "Grandpa, the rice is burnt." After speaking, he quickly broke free from old Jack's embrace and ran towards the kitchen. Old Jack eventually broke his promise. After lunch, Wushuang had just fallen asleep when he walked out of the yard. "Find the child who has bullied the unsurpassed child one by one," informed their parents. For a moment, the entire Holy Soul village was filled with flying chickens and dogs, and the screams of children began to ring one after another. In the evening, the setting sun sets in the west, and large areas of burning clouds transform into various shapes. In old Jack's courtyard, Grandpa and grandson are sitting together, eating while watching the clouds in the sky. Old Jack's interest is particularly high. Tell Xiao Wushuang about the origin of Holy Soul Village, and the glory that the powerful Soul Saint brought to the village. Little Wushuang's eyes shone brightly. "I also want to become someone like that adult in the future." "Okay, we're really great, little Wushuang." Old Jack laughed heartily. At this moment, the door of the small courtyard was knocked upon by someone. Old Jack nodded. Xiao Wushuang ran over with his short legs. The courtyard door opens. Outside the door stood a bunch of people. There are men and women, old and young. "Old Jack village chief, we are here to apologize to you." A middle-aged man scratched his head awkwardly. At the same time, he directly lifted the child behind him and made him kneel in front of old Jack. Others also followed suit and made their children kneel in front of old Jack. Looking at the big children kneeling in a row in front of him, Xiao Wushuang looked at his grandfather in confusion. He recognized that these older children had all bullied him before. "What did I tell you at home?" The middle-aged man roared loudly at his own child. The child couldn't help but tremble and burst into tears. "Grandpa village chief, I'm sorry, we shouldn't have bullied Xiao Shuang." "Sorry, we won't bully Xiao Shuang anymore." "Woo-woo. We were wrong. If someone takes the lead, there will be people following suit." For a moment, the small courtyard burst into tears. "The person you should apologize to is not me." Old Jack remained indifferent and shook his head, saying. The crying children were taken aback and looked at the helpless little Wushuang on one side. They quickly cried and begged for mercy. "Sorry, Xiao Shuang. We will never bully you again in the future. Let's play together in the future, please forgive us, okay?" "Xiao Shuang, we were wrong." Faced with their confession, Xiao Wushuang took a step back at a loss, his expression extremely unnatural. He looked nervously at old Jack. After seeing old Jack nod slightly at him, he whispered, it's okay, I forgive you all. You guys get up quickly. Upon hearing Xiao Wushuang's words, the older children all showed a joyful expression and quickly got up from the ground. Xiao Shuang, thank you. We will never bully you again in the future. Well, we won't bully you anymore. Xiao Wushuang was surrounded by them in the middle, his face tense and flushed. After hearing this, he nodded heavily and said, you guys still want to play with me in the future. Okay, let's play together. A big child quickly nodded. In no time, 5 or 6 older children were taken away by their parents from the small courtyard of Old Jack village chief. In the small courtyard, only Grandpa Jack and little Wushuang remained. At the foot of Wuhun Mountain, seeing the people here, they were somewhat surprised. Isn't it true that this beast has been doing all sorts of evil since childhood? Why does it look a bit different? Moreover, this traitor was actually quite obedient when he was a child, and it doesn't seem like an eternal villain at all. Yes, is there anything wrong with the rumors? Some people make confused sounds, while others keep sneering, hee, knowing people knows their faces but not their hearts. Aren't there enough people who are hypocritical on the surface and full of men stealing and women prostitutes inside? I also saw that there was an evil energy growing between his eyebrows. Since childhood, he has been deeply scheming and has an evil heart. And you didn't feel it, did this beast intentionally say to Old Jack that he was being bullied? It must have been predicted that Old Jack would definitely go find their parents, so he deliberately grabbed Old Jack's clothes. Hiss. I think it's highly likely that's the case, then his schemes are too deep. TSK, he is indeed a born villain. He knows how to handle people's hearts at such a young age, but when he grows up, he can still handle it. At the beginning of human life, nature is inherently evil, and this beast should be shot on the wall. End of this chapter. Chapter 10 Old Jack. Fuck your mother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Old Jack. Fuck your mother. The memory screen is still ongoing. The next morning, Wushuang had just finished breakfast when someone knocked on the door in the yard. Opening the door, it was the 5 big children standing outside. When the 5 older children saw little Wushuang, they all showed excited smiles. Xiao Shuang, let's go play. The eldest child, who is 7 years old, is called Huzi. As he spoke to Xiao Wushuang, he couldn't help but look into the yard. Tiger brother, please wait a moment. I haven't washed the dishes yet. Xiao Wushuang feels a bit embarrassed, he needs to clean up the kitchen before going out to play. At this moment, Old Jack's angry voice came from the small courtyard. Xiao Wushuang, you go play. These grandfathers can do it themselves. After hesitating for a while, Xiao Wushuang finally said to Huzi and others, okay, you guys wait for me. After speaking, he bounced and ran into his room. The first time I went out to play with my friends, Xiao Wushuang took it very seriously and quickly changed into a clean clothes and ran out. Grandpa, we went to play. Xiao Wushuang said happily to Old Jack. Old Jack smiled and reminded, come back early for dinner. Xiao Wushuang agreed and said to Huzi and others waiting outside the courtyard, Tiger brother, let's go out and play. Huzi smiled happily and said, okay, let's go now. Words fall, with a greeting from Huzi, he turned around and left first. The other 4 big children followed closely behind, and little Wushuang quickly followed suit. In a few minutes, after entering a dark alley, Huzi at the front suddenly stopped in his tracks. Xiao Wushuang's reaction was not timely, almost hitting his back directly. Huzi, what's wrong? Where are we going? Little Wushuang's clear eyes were filled with doubts. Here we are, right here. Huzi turned around with a wicked smile on his face. The alley, which was damp and dark without sunlight, occasionally had mice darting by, making Xiao Wushuang shiver uncontrollably. He instinctively felt fear, but I found that the retreat behind me was blocked by 4 other older children. Xiao Wushuang was a bit scared. Tiger brother. I don't want to play anymore. Let me go back. He was extremely nervous, his voice stuttered with childish words. The smile on Huzi's face was even more vigorous. You're not playing anymore, we haven't had enough of it yet. During the conversation, Huzi pushed Wushuang down into the damp alley. Huzi crouched down, smiling with a hint of joy, patting the young and tender face of Wushuang, little beggar, little bastard. I underestimated you so much that I dare to report it. We were also implicated by you, and we really don't know what to do. But it's okay, we'll play with you well today and see if you dare to file a lawsuit in the future. After speaking, Huzi stood up and smiled at the 4 big children behind him. Let's have a good time with Xiaoshuang. The 4 older children nodded in unison. His gaze fell on the trembling little Wushuang, with an eager expression. Don't. Please. Xiao Wushuang was extremely fearful, with panic and helplessness in his eyes. Just got up from the ground and wanted to escape, he was pushed down to the ground by another big child. Next, 4 or 5 fists hit him on the back, accompanied by a series of extremely unpleasant insults. All the people who watched this scene fell silent. No one expected that. Qin Wushuang was so pitiful when he was young. Wandering and begging, finally adopted by old Jack, and bullied by a child older than him. This kind of encounter, even if they hate it in their hearts, they cannot help but feel pity. Perhaps, that's why he will become so insane in the future. Someone is whispering, I never expected that Qin Wushuang, this beast, had such an experience. No wonder he was psychologically twisted and harbored such hatred towards ordinary people. Some people angrily retorted, he just deserved it. Who made him learn to complain and report at such a young age? I have been bullying people since I was young, and I deserve to be taught a lesson. Many people nodded in agreement with his words. That's right, compared to the big crimes he will commit in the future, what does this bullying count for? Strike, strike hard, kill this traitor. Under the canopy of the dome, Bibi Dong, 1,000 feet of snow, Hulaina, the 3rd daughter, has a high level of soul power, and naturally listens to the whispers of the people below the mountain clearly. She can't help but furrow her brows, flashing a hint of displeasure. Especially Hulaina, who is more emotional, has some anger. Qin Wushuang's heinous crimes are true, but now he is just a child, why should he bear these? Bibi Dong remained silent, lightly tapping on the table and opening his mouth. Perhaps this is the beginning of his twisted soul. Speaking of which, she regretted not noticing the changes in Qin Wushuang's heart earlier, otherwise, there won't be those things happening in the future. Let's look down. 1,000 steps of snow reveal a complex surface. She sympathizes deeply with Qin Wushuang's childhood experiences, but whenever she thinks of the crimes Qin Wushuang committed against her, Qian Renxue's heart has cooled down again. Don't be fooled by his pitiful appearance, everyone. At this moment, a voice rang out from the crowd at the foot of Wuhun Mountain. I received news a long time ago that this little beast left the village at the age of 6 and joined the martial soul hall. Probably at that time, a child in their village almost fell from the mountain and died. Is it possible that the child who fell down is this tiger? And the culprit is this little beast? Can't bear it for 3 years, just to seek revenge and bully oneself when leaving. It's such a deep and poisonous thought. The person had just finished speaking. It caused a huge uproar in the crowd. Just now, those who expressed sympathy for Qin Wushuang's childhood experiences have turned their guns around. Once again, he started to criticize Qin Wushuang verbally, that's right. How could a villain like Qin Wushuang not retaliate against those who have bullied him? It's really scary to have a murderous attitude towards playmates since the age of 3. Isn't it that he started killing people when he was 6 years old? This kind of person is simply scum, a killer maniac. Just because of childhood conflicts, I retaliated against others. No wonder I would later kill hundreds of people in Tiando City just because of an unripe watermelon. It's really insane. Kill him and eliminate a calamity for the world. Nodding City, outside the Martial Soul Hall. Old Jack, who was already very old, lay on the wooden cart pushed by the villagers. Seeing this scene through the mirror of memory projection, tears flowed down my murky old eyes once again. The scene in my eyes is full of scenes of Qin Wushuang being beaten and insulted by others, and my ears are filled with countless people's accusations against my grandson. He felt immense sadness in his heart. Until he also heard someone suspect that Qin Wushuang was pushing Huzi down the mountain. Suddenly, my whole body trembled with anger, and tears surged again. Ultimately, he trembled and raised his withered arm, using all his strength to utter 2 words, "Damn it. Fuck your mother. Old Jack." Requesting tickets. End of this chapter.